Hey everybody, it's Taylor with Boydston Grove, and today we're gonna make this really cool toy motorcycle. Let's get into it.
I can't wait.
I'm always on the lookout for new toys and games to try to build, and the other day I came across a couple versions of wooden motorcycles. So I started combining ideas that I liked from a bunch of different versions until I came up with my own, and that's what we're gonna build today. After rummaging through my scraps, I found a piece of mahogany that was big enough for the main pieces of the body, a piece of maple flooring for some of the smaller pieces, and a piece of mystery wood from a piece of furniture we had disassembled a while back that I thought would work great for the wheels. I used a rough template that I created and some graphite paper to trace on the pieces and then cut them out on the scroll saw. I decided to use hardwoods on this project because there's a lot of small curved parts and I was afraid they would snap if I used something soft like pine. But if you don't have any hardwoods, you could also use plywood. The mystery wood is made up of multiple laminated pieces, so I wanted to make sure that I cut the wheels out of a solid area of the board so I don't have to worry about any separation down the road.
Quick thinking.
I used a 3-inch hole saw bit to cut out the wheels. They actually measure 2 3/4 inches on the plans, but I figured I would give myself a little bit of wiggle room so I could sand them down. I re-drilled the holes in the wheels to 3/8 of an inch so that they would spin easily on the 1/4 inch dowel that I plan to use for the axles. Over at the table saw, I cut down the little struts or brace pieces out of that piece of maple flooring, and then I cut it to length on the miter saw. I did most of my sanding on the bench sander, but to get into the tighter curved areas, I used some flap sander bits. These bits are really handy and you can use them on your drill press or chuck them up in a regular drill. I'll leave a link to what I use in the description below. I pre-cut some pieces of 1/4 inch dowel for the assembly, making sure that the piece for the handlebars and for the feet would be a little bit longer. I did have to sand the dowels down because they were a little too snug when I attempted a dry assembly. While we're on the subject of toys, I wanted to share with you the first mail that I got from a subscriber. This really made my day that someone would actually take time out and share with me some of their experiences in woodworking. Jack, a fellow woodworker, has been doing this for years and wanted to share with me some of the stuff that he's created. He wrote me a really nice letter, which we're not going to read online, but that was really thoughtful and I really appreciate it. He also made me a magnet that is cut in the shape of his home state that has some significant markings to landmarks. He also sent me this cool template for a crayon holder that he has created, and I think we're definitely going to be making this at some point. He even sent some googly eyes that we can attach to the crayon holders once we make them.
Googly eyes?
A big thank you to Jack for sending me these goodies. I really appreciate it. And as a thank you, I'm going to be sending you the finished template for the motorcycle that we're building today. So keep an eye out for that. Now let's get back to the build. I used some washers to space out the pivoting piece from the body so I could drill out a hole for the steering shaft. As you can see, I got a little carried away while drilling out the spot for the steering shaft, but I can just drive the dowel down through a little further and cut it flush. Easy fix. I used a roundover bit in my router to round over the edges of the wheel so they would look a little less blocky. I made a little headlight and tail light from some 1-inch dowel. I tried to do as much shaping as I could before cutting them to length. It was a little easier to work with them that way. Since there will be so many nooks and crannies when the motorcycle is assembled, I decided to pre-finish the pieces with some boiled linseed oil. I did not add finish to the dowels though. I went with super glue for the assembly because this will probably end up sitting on a shelf over my desk or something, but if yours is going into the hands of a little one, you may want to use a stronger adhesive and maybe even some pin nails for some added strength, which I did end up using in a couple places. Alright, for some reason, I really wasn't paying attention when I was assembling the motorcycle, and I don't know why. Number one, I put the rails on here backwards. The rails have one end that's a little extended, and I wanted that end over the rear wheels, just a look I was going for. In the end, it's not really a big deal. It doesn't change the functionality, and I was able to trim off the end. I just should have been paying more attention. Number two, I just put it together in a really weird order for some reason. What would have been easier if I had taken both rails and put the dowels in and then stacked all the pieces of the motorcycle on top of those and then sandwiched them with the top rails. That would have been so much easier and so much quicker. Oh well, maybe next time. After some touch-up, sanding, and finish, this build is done. Alright, our toy motorcycle is finished. Let's go over a few things real quick. As you can see by the video, there were quite a few things that I had to try to figure out with the build on this video, but I think I have it all dialed in and the plans are available on our website. I'll leave a link in the description below. This is another one of those projects that you can add as much or as little detail as you want depending on the look you're going for. I think overall it turned out great. There's a few things that I would like to redo, but we'll save that for next time. Thank you very much for watching, be safe, and have a great day.